I think for Trump, attending these high profile events is an obvious way for him to be visible, to grab attention and headlines.
You are watching The Big Deal. Since returning to office, President Donald Trump has not shied away from taking time out of his busy schedule to attend a sporting event or two. He traveled to New York City twice within the space of a few days. First, last Sunday to attend the U.S. Open, the finals, that is. And then on Thursday, he came to New York City to watch the Yankees-Tigers game on what was the 24th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. This marks Trump's 8th major sporting trip in 2025, following appearances at the Super Bowl, the NCAA Wrestling Championships, the FIFA World Cup Final, and 2 UFC fights. To better understand the president's passion for sports and how that interacts with his political agenda, I am joined by Tom Kludt. He's a contributing editor at Vanity Fair. He writes about media, sports, and politics. And Mr. Kludt, there's no question that President Trump's interest in sports is actually genuine. I mean, he shows up at these events, and I remember even before he got into politics, he was owner of the New Jersey Generals team in the old U.S. Football League. What is it about this that you would say is motivating President Trump to throw himself so fully into the sports industry in this way?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're correct. I think his fandom is genuine, but it's true. He's ventured into the sporting arena more than any other president, perhaps more than any modern politician for that matter. As you mentioned, he became the first sitting president to attend the Super Bowl earlier this year. The following week, he was at the Daytona 500. This past Sunday, he was at the U.S. Open men's final, which I actually attended. And this week, we saw him at a Yankees game for the 9/11 anniversary. And of course, he's become a fixture at UFC events, which have essentially become more or less an extension of his mega brand. I think for Trump, attending these high profile events is an obvious way for him to be visible, to grab attention and headlines. In this fragmented media environment, live sports stand as one of the last bastions of television that consistently draw a large audience. But Trump, particularly in his most recent campaign, he also made a concerted effort to target male voters, especially young male voters. And by inserting himself in these marquee sporting events with audiences that do skew male, I think President Trump is able to reach that block, which proved to be so vital to his election last fall. So I'd say it's a mix between probably genuine fandom and certainly some political strategy at play as well.
Now, when he showed up at the tennis open, that wasn't a UFC crowd. I mean, does the president care if he gets booed at actual events as long as he's seen nationally?
You're right. I mean, a sport like tennis, the U.S. Open, I think it's perceived as a more lib-coded sporting event than UFC, certainly. And the reaction there reflected that. Initially, it was a bit mixed when they showed him on the video board during the national anthem. But then when they showed him following the first set, I would say the boos overwhelmingly drowned out the cheers. I think that, at this point, being visible and even, displaying a willingness to venture into those Lions dens is probably useful to his brand. I think it's notable that not long after he was at the U.S. Open, we saw him confronted by protesters in a restaurant. And there was a clip of him glaring them down. So I think that that does contribute to his brand. And I think his supporters like that just as much as they do when he's showered with adulation at UFC events and college football games.
Now, he's not just a neutral observer, right? He publicly advocated for the Washington Commanders, we're talking about the NFL here, the MLB's Cleveland Guardians to revert back to their old names that had been dropped as racially insensitive to Native Americans. Is he hoping for there to be an actual change, or is this just, injecting politics into his sporting life?
I guess I'd say yes to both. I mean, I think so much of Trump's movement is driven by these cultural grievances that stem from an outrage of perceived political correctness and a nostalgia for the way things used to be. And so in calling for the Commanders and Guardians to revert to their previous nicknames, Trump is checking both of those boxes. He's standing up to what he and his supporters have branded woke, and he's appealing to this bygone era that's purportedly been taken from them by these liberal forces. It remains to be seen whether this rises from just one of these culture war skirmishes to something with more teeth. Trump has actually threatened to block the Commanders' new stadium deal unless they change their name back, but it's unclear what, if anything, he'll actually be able to do on that front. Back in January, Congress and former President Joe Biden, they handed control back over to the District of Columbia over the proposed new stadium, and that happened right before President Biden left office. So That may deny Trump the actual authority to stand in the way, but in the meantime, he can certainly fan the flames of these culture war grievances.
So now, bring us up to date on what went beyond culture war grievances. I'm thinking back to when Colin Kaepernick, the first NFL player to kneel during the national anthem to protest police brutality. I mean, Trump went after him. He called it disrespectful. He asked for players to be fired, including Kaepernick. What was the legacy of that fight?
Yeah, I think that was one of the major culture war battles of Trump's first term. He took on the NFL over the anthem protests, the owners, and then that morphed into a battle with the NBA, including stars like LeBron James and Steph Curry. And many conservatives said they were washing their hands clean of the NFL, that they'd never watch it again. And yet, 8 years on from that, by most measures, the NFL is more popular than ever. It dominates American television like no other programming. So the boycott didn't stick, but I'd say the lasting legacy of that fight is that it probably now serves as a benchmark for how much the culture and public opinion with regard to Trump has shifted since that first term.
I know we're going to revisit this because the FIFA World Cup is coming here next summer, and in 2028, the Summer Olympics are going to be held in Los Angeles, so we'll have plenty of time to figure all of that out. Tom Kludt, thanks so much for joining me. Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage, and click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.